She was mad her best friend looked too good at her wedding. You smell that? I smell bridezilla. The title of this story is, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she should have expected to be outshone by her best friend at her wedding?
Hey everybody, welcome back.
Throw away because I don't want any family members finding my real account. My sister, Anne, 29 female, has been best friends with Ruby, 30 female, for as long as I, 25 female, can remember. So growing up, Ruby was like a second big sister to me.
Sisters.
One thing that is important to note is that Ruby has always had the most outrageous fashion sense possible. She's the person that would wear those runway outfits you think no one would actually wear. Okay, so she a little camp, gotcha. Anne got engaged pre-COVID. Almost as soon as it happened, she started being really weird to Ruby. When she made me maid of honor, I was kind of surprised because they've always sworn to be the maid of honor at each other's weddings. But I'm her blood sister, so it wasn't that weird. But I was completely blown away when she made a group chat and I found out Ruby wasn't even a bridesmaid.
What? What?
Best friends? And she's not a bridesmaid. Both me and my mom tried to talk to her about it since we figured they had an argument or something, but she would only say that Ruby didn't care anyway. I know Ruby was hurt, but she didn't want any drama, so I agreed to let it go. Throughout the whole wedding process, my mom kept asking Anne if she would invite Ruby, if she would ask Ruby's opinion, etc., etc. But Anne refused to have any contact with her or talk about anything related with her whatsoever.
This is strange.
Why? What happened? I'm like kind of hurt for Ruby. Like I understand she like dresses really like out there and stuff, but like what exactly happened between them? Or did anything happen? And does your sister just feel some type of way about Ruby? On Saturday, my sister was married. She had a beautiful outside, socially distanced wedding, but she was seething the whole time because of Ruby's dress. It wasn't at all outrageous by Ruby's standards, so I don't believe that she wanted to outshine my sister. She wore a quite simple wedding dress, but that was her choice. As maid of honor, I of course went to her fitting, and that was literally the one she chose. And you know, you have a right to wear like a simple, elegant wedding dress. If that's what you want. A lot of brides choose that. Anne has been cursing Ruby out and saying that their friendship is over ever since. Like she hadn't been ignoring her all through lockdown.
Doesn't make sense.
I feel like the friendship was over, honestly, when your sister chose not to include Ruby in the wedding party. Finally, I just said that she's been friends with Ruby most of her life and she knows what she dresses like and that she should have expected this. If it was that much of a problem, she should have found a way to mention it to her or just made her a bridesmaid. I mean, making someone a bridesmaid so you can control what they wear is like kind of
Psychotic.
Kind of sus. I mean, yes, that would have been a solution to the problem, but like, why are we policing what people wear now? Like, if she looked nice, that's the only thing that you should be worrying about. I fully believe that Anne compares herself to Ruby and doesn't like that Ruby looks better than her. Anne lost it with me. She sent Ruby some really horrible messages after she screamed at me. She didn't say a word to me all of yesterday, but she's bad-mouthing me to our dad, who is on her side. What side? What side? What side is there to take, honestly? Like, I just... You should be happy that people showed up and showed out for your wedding and wanted to look good for you.
Ungrateful.
My mom has told Anne that she should apologize to Ruby for the nasty messages she sent and for yelling at me, so Anne isn't talking to her either. I don't even know what's going on, but Ruby swears on her life that they didn't even have an argument or anything pre-COVID. Anne says it's none of my business and I should be supporting my real sister. Loyalty is not blind, okay? Loyalty, like, you can support someone, but I also would argue when your friend or family member is sort of acting out and like not behaving in a way that's right, I would argue that like telling them the honest truth shows that you care too.
Honesty's the best policy.
I wouldn't say that Anne is behaving in a way that's like respectful right now. There's some sort of deep-rooted jealousy going on here, and Anne tried to make Ruby small by not including her in her wedding party. She's resentful for some reason.
Resentment
Check.
My dad agrees with her and she rallied the other bridesmaid against me. So I don't know, am I the a-hole? I genuinely don't get this sentiment that like, unless someone is going out of their way to like wear white to your wedding or wear red because they like, are having an affair with the groom, like it's really not that serious, No one, and I mean no one, will outshine you on your wedding day unless you let them. I fail to see it. Like, I genuinely fail to see it. Unless you are someone who, like, wants all of the people around her to be uglier than her. There are times in life where your friends or your family members or your coworkers or whatever are going to look good.
Believe it or not.
That doesn't make you look worse. What does make you look worse is how you behave. Okay, to clear some things up, Ruby didn't wear a wedding dress or anything really outrageous. It was dark red, it was a bodycon dress in a satiny material. There were lots of people in form-fitting dresses, the bridesmaids were wearing them, and she didn't look out of place. Edit again, some of you are ridiculous, assuming the absolute worst case scenario, it wasn't a spaghetti strap dress that barely covered her butt. It was an appropriate length and had long sleeves. Let's just get that out of the way. If this needs saying twice, the bridesmaids were wearing bodycon dresses. So were many other guests. It wasn't a particularly traditional affair. No one was offended by our figures. Ruby's dress didn't massively stick out. Ruby is very attractive. She always has been, but I never thought it was an issue for Anne before. Ruby and Anne had been best friends for 25 years. They didn't grow apart or anything. They stayed in constant contact even as adults. And then Anne suddenly wasn't talking to Ruby anymore. My mom and I weren't trying to be controlling. We were worried. We assumed that something really bad happened for them to cut contact overnight. When Anne refused to talk about it, my mom was only more worried because she's normally an open book. I don't love Ruby more than Anne or anything like that. The only reason I'm so close to Ruby is because Anne used to be so close to Ruby. They were basically inseparable, so I grew up tagging along after both of them. Of course, I love Anne very much. I just think she's being unreasonable in this situation. Ruby was always going to be at the actual wedding. The phrasing was bad on my part. When my mom was suggesting that Anne invite Ruby, it was to wedding prep things like dress shopping. And lastly, I don't know if Dave, the groom, has feelings for Ruby.
Quel scandale!
I've never thought that. They've met many times and there's never been any signs that he does. I definitely do not think it's an affair because then surely my sister wouldn't want to marry Dave and neither would want Ruby at the wedding at all. Ruby doesn't have a history of going after Anne's boyfriends or crushes. Something happened. Something happened. I wouldn't be surprised if it was related to the groom making some sort of comment telling Ruby she looked good or something.
That would be crazy.
But let's get to the update. Based on some of the advice I'm receiving, I was going to tell Anne this morning how much she means to me and that I'm there for her. But she's seething again, so I'm not trying to. Dave asked if I could talk to Anne because they've also apparently had a massive fight because he tried to defend Ruby on the wedding night. He asked me if I could explain where he misstepped and how to make it up to her. This is the first time he's ever asked me for help with their relationship, so he's clearly at a loss. I said I was just as confused and we didn't even know why she wasn't in the bridal party, so he should just try and talk it out with Anne. This is where things get weird.
Oh, God.
Dave said the reason Ruby wasn't in either wedding party was because he wanted her as a best woman, and Anne wanted her as maid of honor. But Anne wouldn't budge and said they should just drop her from both parties to be fair. Okay. He said that she explained it to Ruby and that's why they had a fight, because Ruby wanted to be included. I said okay and just hung up, but the more I think about it, the more confused I am. If they had a massive fight about Ruby being maid of honor, surely Ruby would remember. Also, I don't know why Dave would want Ruby as his best woman when, to my understanding, he only met her after he started dating Anne. I really am taking your advice to not meddle to heart, which is a nightmare because now my curiosity is totally piqued, so I won't bring it up. It's possible that this is all I'll ever know, and this will bug me to my grave, but I made a vow to not push Anne anymore. Thank you everyone for your comments. Thank you to all the not the a-hole people for reassuring me I'm not the one acting crazy. Thank you to all the helpful you're the a-hole, everyone sucks verdicts that helped me see how I could change my behavior in the future to be a more supportive sister. Reading the post, it's kind of like To some degree, I get her not being the a-hole, but I also get some of the people that are saying like, I mean, you shouldn't have just told your sister that,
well, obviously your friend looks better than you.
you know? I think in a situation where someone could be feeling insecure about that, even if they're being incredibly unreasonable, you could say like, you looked incredible. Like, you looked absolutely amazing. I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I barely even noticed Ruby. It's kind of stupid. Anne is being silly. She's being silly. We don't really know what happened. Was it fair to tell her that, oh, well, like, obviously she looks better than you? I don't know. With the context of Anne kind of behaving weirdly, maybe it makes sense, but at the end of the day, I do genuinely feel like this is really a silly thing to be upset over on your wedding day.
Truth.
The fact that this is even a problem is really, really silly. Like now, instead of being happy about her wedding, Anne is just somehow so fixated on the way that her friend looked at her wedding that she can't even enjoy this momentous occasion.
That's not good.
It's really silly, and she's doing it to herself. I hear a yakety sax while reading your post. Was the wedding held under a huge red and white striped tent? Were there elephants and jugglers? And sounds like the ringmaster of the show, not the a-hole. Making Ruby a bridesmaid or maid of honor would have been the obvious solution here. Then Anne literally would have been able to dictate the dress code. The fact that Anne is seething over some faux dress gate during what should have been the happiest time of her life does not bode well for her marriage. Where's the groom in all of this, if this is what the honeymoon looks like?
Oh, jeez.
OP responds, it's a groom. I guess we'll call him Dave. I didn't mention it because he's basically staying out of it. He's met Ruby quite a few times since she and Anne used to be so close, but obviously he's not going to take Ruby's side since Anne is his wife. I imagine he's bored of hearing her rant about it by now, but that's it. Not asking Dave to side against his wife, the latter of the whole for better or for worse thing seems to apply, but still, Anne letting herself get worked up over this means the shine of getting hitched can't be all that bright. Lots of brides aren't the dressiest at their own weddings. Who cares? They're the bride. It's not like Ruby rolled in wearing a white dress veil and carrying a bouquet of Kaya lilies. That just goes to my point. Like, it doesn't really seem like Ruby wore anything to upset Anne deliberately. So maybe the feedback of like, dude, you're kind of being a little nuts is warranted here. But we have an update. Update 2, I'm even more confused. Dave called me 30 minutes ago asking me in a very angry tone of voice if any of his groomsmen behaved inappropriately toward me. I asked what, and he said again. I could hear Anne in the background shouting something. I said they had been perfect gentlemen at the wedding and I hadn't had any contact with them since. He then asked me if Ruby knew that she was meant to be best woman. I said not to my understanding, but it was possible that I didn't know, as both she and Anne had been quite secretive about what happened between them and that he'd be better off asking them themselves. He laughed and hung up.
I'm so confused.
Okay, Anne really gotta like be honest here because this is getting annoying. Like, I bet you anything she's not being honest because it's something embarrassing. Ruby has texted me asking what's happening and if I knew about the best woman maid of honor thing. Just now, I got a message from one of the bridesmaids saying if Dave calls me, I shouldn't answer him. Anne is on the phone with my dad, screaming, it sounds like. I have no clue what's going on, but I think somewhere in this mess is the truth of what actually happened. Everything seems to be exploding. I now think that the bridesmaids, or at least that particular one, are involved. And if things keep happening at this pace, I think I should eventually find out what in the flying is happening. I'm just as confused as OP. This is a clusterfuck, for lack of a better word.
What a mess.
Update 3. There has been a lot of shouting and tears today. Honestly, I'm exhausted, but so many people have commented for the update, so here it is. I'm still kind of in shock. Anne has been lying to just about everyone. The story is very complicated and long.
Sheriff, he's over here.
This list is actually what I use to wrap my own head around it. It's all the facts I have in chronological order. I'm gonna need a sip of water for this one. Number 1, Dave has been to jail and is an ex-addict. He met Ruby before he met Anne. After he recovered, he was really struggling with money and Ruby helped him a lot. He considers her to be one of his closest friends. Okay, that I guess explains the whole fighting over her being maid of honor thing. 2 years later, Dave was doing well at his job and was much more stable and functional. Around this time, Ruby introduced him to Anne. 3, Anne was very reluctant to have a relationship with Dave because of his past, but she had strong feelings for him. Eventually, they began dating, but she was still ashamed of the person he used to be. So she told us they met over a dating app. Dave consented to this at the time. 4, as Dave became more comfortable with himself and their relationship became more serious, he told Anne she needed to be honest with us about his history. She agreed to tell us, but she didn't. She told Dave that she wrote a fake letter from my family about how we were really grateful for his honesty and accepted him. She told Ruby that my parents had reacted badly, so Ruby never brought it up with Dave or my family because she thought it was a very sensitive topic. When Dave proposed, Anne started freaking out about the wedding. Dave wanted people from his support group to be there, Ruby as his best woman, etc., which would expose the lies. But she still didn't want to tell us who Dave was or that Dave had lied to him, so she decided to continue lying instead of coming clean.
That's an insane web of lies.
So, Anne pretended to be really upset that she couldn't have Ruby as her maid of honor so she could make the argument that she should be dropped from both wedding parties. She told Dave that she had explained her decision to Ruby and Ruby had taken issue with it to keep him happy. In reality, she knew that if Ruby knew she was meant to be best woman, it could easily get back to me and my mom and then raise questions from us about Ruby's relationship with Dave. So she didn't tell Ruby anything at all, and that's why Ruby was so confused about what happened and couldn't think of anything. Anne told Dave and all his friends from his support group that they shouldn't mention the addiction in speeches or even casual conversation because it was a sensitive subject for certain family members before the wedding.
Lies, lies, and more lies.
She told bridesmaids, significant others, many lies about Ruby. She told them that she had the habit of causing scenes, that she was going to try and sleep with the groomsmen, that one of them was an ex-boyfriend of hers that dumped her, that she would get way too drunk. Essentially, she painted Ruby as a disaster waiting to happen so the bridesmaids wouldn't like her, and also so that they could keep her away from certain people, specifically the ones that also knew Dave at the wedding.
This is pretty wild.
Circus tent is right. Anne also told the bridesmaids the only reason Ruby was invited is because I idolize her, so they wouldn't repeat any of the lies she told to me. This is very manipulative. All because you're embarrassed about your husband's past.
Get a grip.
This massive circus because you're embarrassed about your husband. After the wedding, Anne put on her enormous meltdown about the dress. The bridesmaids obviously didn't have a positive opinion on Ruby, so they were easy to convince that it was meant to be a genuine slight. My dad did what Anne apparently expected everyone to do by caving immediately because she was the bride. If me and my mom had done the same, Anne would have used it as an excuse to cut Ruby out of everyone's life.
What the hell?
She tried to do the same thing with Dave's groomsmen by insisting to him they had said inappropriate things about the bridesmaids. The idea was to basically remove anybody that knew the truth about Dave from the general social circle so it wouldn't come up again. Dave smelled a rat. He asked exactly what the issue was with Ruby's dress and what exactly his friends had said, and panicked and accused him of not loving her, choosing his friends over her, etc. And it turned into a massive argument. Dave was mad and suspicious, so he started calling people, trying to figure out what happened.
Smart boy.
This is not a good way to start a marriage. I would be so upset to find out that my significant other did not accept me and my past. A couple of bridesmaids said that Anne was telling the truth about the groomsmen. She asked and pressured them to, but most were kind of weirded out by their request, and I think they successfully got that across to Dave. He called me to ask if I knew what was going on. Anne told Dave I was just like him, caring about Ruby more than her, and also that I wasn't there when it happened. But the timing of the story didn't match up, so Dave called me anyway. That was the weird phone call. At this point, she knew she was spouting BS, so he asked her up front what was going on. She broke down and told Dave everything. He was fuming. He texted us all to let us know about his past and then basically kicked Anne out. She came to us where she then had to explain again everything.
Serves you right.
This is a lot. Listen, if you're upset about this kind of past with your partner and you're willing to hide it from people to this extent, I would argue that this is not the right relationship for you.
My therapist says.
If this was my partner, I would honestly be so proud of how far he had come. At the end of the day, he is what he is. He has that past. So if you were so embarrassed by it, why did you marry him in the first place?
Touche.
Anne is absolutely shaken. I've never considered her capable of this kind of deception. It is deceptive and manipulation, and I don't think she's ever done something like this before. Contrary to what some commenters seem to believe, I don't hate my sister. I feel sorry for her, even though I'm really hurt by what she did, because she feels so guilty and absolutely miserable because she's worried that things will never be worked out with Dave.
Your fault. Your fault. Your fault. Your fault.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. No one wants to know that their partner is like ashamed of them to this extent. She's gone to bed now very upset because our mom won't even look at her. She's fuming that Anne would deceive and hurt her and so many other people like this. I do understand where she's coming from. My dad is also very shocked and hurt. Anne texted Ruby. She sent her a message explaining and apologizing, but obviously Ruby is really angry and upset. She just told her that she couldn't speak to her right now, but maybe she'd call her in the morning once they both have a chance to calm down.
Sounds reasonable.
Dave is probably the most hurt out of everyone, and I understand why. He wouldn't speak to Anne, but he did tell me that he really thought he had our acceptance, and that the letter she had written to him had been his most treasured possession ever since he received it. And to find out it was false was absolutely crushing.
Breaks my heart.
I told him we did accept him for who he was and nobody blamed him, but I didn't think it helped much. He has asked for distance from our family, and I understand why. I'm not sure he'll be willing to speak to Anne again, or if he wants to be her husband after this. I wouldn't blame him if he goes on to find someone else. Thanks, Reddit. It turned out everyone was way off base, although I don't think anyone could have predicted this. I definitely could not have predicted any of this. This is way far out of left field. I can understand complicated feelings of like being embarrassed about your significant other's past, but going to this extent to like cover it up with your family members is just plain cray-cray.
Have you lost your mind?
Like, it's just plain cray-cray. And the truth always comes out. I don't know how she thought that this would just stay under wraps. Especially, you know, with like this whole weird dress thing. Dude, weird. Quite frankly, if this is how you felt about your own wedding, like, it doesn't surprise me that it's, you know, the marriage is probably over.
Girl, bye.
So we have one more update. The past 2 weeks have been very stressful. Anne and my mom have been fighting and crying for most of it. We learned that this deception of Anne's was not out of the blue. She's had this obsession with her image for a very long time. She confessed to a lot of stuff from secondary school and her job. Some of it was worrying and some of it was really scary and manipulative. I feel so distant from the person she's become. There's tension between us that I'm not sure will ever go away, even though it really pains me as well because she's my sister.
This sucks.
Ooh, okay, so the lying seems to be a little pathological, perhaps. Once my dad heard of some of the revelations, he decided Anne should go to a therapist. Anne really struggled against the decision, which led to a massive fight between her and my dad. I've never seen my dad so angry. Neither has she, which is probably why she eventually agreed. The therapist is supposed to help Anne process her emotions after everything that's happened, and also hopefully get to the root of her problem.
Roots. You know, roots.
A lot of the comments suggested our family wasn't healthy in the way we interact with each other. I'm conflicted on this because on the one hand, me and my mom were right that something was very wrong, but then that doesn't mean we didn't behave badly, if that makes sense. So I suggested family therapy. My parents are looking into it. Hopefully we can learn a bit more about boundaries and each other and eventually move on. Anne has been talking a lot to Ruby. From the sounds of it, Ruby's still very upset, but I have been taking the advice not to meddle so much in their relationship and I'm leaving them to it. Me and Ruby still speak a lot, but not about Anne.
The drama.
Dave sent a message 2 days ago that I think has sadly resolved this very terrible situation. After learning that this is a pattern of behavior, he doesn't think that he wants to be in a marriage with Anne at all, as he feels she hasn't only hurt him deeply, but deceived him about the type of person she is. Yeah. I mean, imagine that, you know, you think that you like really love someone and that they've accepted you wholeheartedly, but on the other side, what's actually happening is that they're literally lying about everything to everyone. It's like, who are you even married to at that point? Who is this person?
Who are you?
You don't know how to trust them. Like, quite frankly, I don't know if I would want to be with someone like that either. I know from Ruby that he's also seeking therapy and has confided in friends about what happened, so he has a strong support system around him. I'm not getting involved with him other than that, as I think he deserves distance from my family after everything, but knowing he's okay does make me feel a little better. Anne has taken this news badly. When she first got the message, I think she had a panic attack. She was breathing really quickly, shaking and crying. She knows Dave learned about her past from Ruby, and she's absolutely furious with Ruby for telling him. He had a right to know. Enough with the lies, okay? No more lying.
What's wrong with me?
Basta. Finito. She's just as preoccupied with the thought of being someone divorced as she is with the fact that Dave is leaving her. Yeah, it's very much about the image, right? Like, I don't even think that if it's really even about Dave anymore. It seems to me that your sister Anne really, really cares about people's perceptions of her to a fault.
I am not okay with fake smiles.
I really hope that the therapist helps her get better, and although I'm not taking it as hard as my mom, I do feel guilty for not noticing this sooner because she's just not well. Yeah, no, there is something pathological about Anne and the way she chooses to move, and I do think she needs therapy to get to the root of why she cares so much and why she feels the need to lie so much. She's not gonna ever be happy until she gets over it, and I would also argue that maybe there's a bit of an addiction to lying as well.
Lies, lies, lies.
Maybe she saw her addiction to lying as sort of similar to Dave's addiction, and that's why she fell for him. But at the end of the day, it's like Dave was honest about who he was, and she wasn't. And there's something to be said for that, right? So are you the a-hole for telling your sister she should have expected to be outshone by her best friend at her wedding? I think in hindsight, being outshone by her best friend was the least of her worries. Not the a-hole.
Subscribe!